We can see now that the victim's blood is all over Mr. McGilbert's overcoat. In the trial 2 months ago, the defendant said this in his testimony. I ask you, what's got our soul wouldn't rush to have a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about big gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. When you look at this overcoat now, it's clear. These stains couldn't have arisen from Mr. McGilder trying to pull the victim to his feet. No. If that was what really had happened, the blood would have splashed all over the front of the coat. The only explanation for this splatter of blood is that it splattered all over Mr. McGilder's coat when he stabbed the victim in the stomach. I've tried to run from the truth for long enough, but there's no escaping it now. The true culprit in that case, Mr. Mason's killer, was Mr. McGilded. Was Magnus McGilded, Mr. Nundaholder. That horrible case is solved at last. And I helped the man walk free from that trial. Use all that twisted testimony and all that sham evidence to prove his innocence. How could I have let that happen? Bruno, did you believe him though? Did you believe Mr. McGilder was innocent? I believed. Or rather, I think I was trying to believe. I wanted to. Because believing in those you represent in court is a defense lawyer's greatest weapon. A weapon? Before I came to Great Britain, a great friend of mine taught me a valuable lesson. You mean Kazuma-sama? Listen, Junosuke. We lawyers are only human. We can't know for sure what is the truth and what is a lie. Which is why we must resort to our primary weapon. An unwavering belief in our clients. That's all we really have. Unwavering belief? Only when we truly believe what our clients tell us can we fight with everything we have for their cause. In any battle, there can be no victory without faith. So I believe you, unwaveringly. What's funny, Gina? Cool. Sounds like in this empire of Japan you come from, everyone must be soft. Well, come on. Look at the mess it's got you into believing in that bog trotter. Yes, I inadvertently helped a murderer walk free. Well, at least you've learnt your lesson now, eh? Believing in people's never worth it. Someone always stabs you in the back in the end. As soon as you let down your guard, you've had it. Take a leaf out of my book. Believe no one, get up at no one. Gina, may I ask you something? What? I'd just like to make absolutely sure. What would you like us to do with these representations papers for tomorrow's trial? How many times do I have to say it? Rip them up and chuck them away. Are you really sure that's what you want? But that's what it wants. All in all now, Mr. I'm a believer lawyer over there. Don't forget it was me in that trial 2 months ago. I led everyone up the garden path, didn't I? And you're telling me you can believe me after that? Not likely. Well, Mr. Nadahodo, a lawyer's primary weapon is an unwavering belief in his clients. Ultimately, it comes down to whether or not I feel I can trust Gina after everything that's happened. I can trust her. Gina, let me say it again. Please allow me to represent you in tomorrow's trial. Eh? Are you half-baked? Not at all. You're not once admitted to committing the crime, have you? What's more, I believe that you're telling me the truth. Seriously, Mr. Nadahodo. Didn't you hear all of what I said before? I'm a born liar. Fibs just trip off me tongue. And I'm a diver, don't forget. I pulled the wool over your eyes 2 months ago and got into all sorts of trouble. Why would you ever trust me now? I just don't get it. I mean, she was threatened too, so, like, she had a reason to lie. Gina, I do understand why you chose not to put your trust in others. But I assure you, there's more to this life than you yet realize. What do you mean? The world we live in is full of people you would do very well to trust. People who won't ever let you down. Eh? It's true that I'm just a student of law and I'm certainly lacking in courtroom experience. But I can promise you this. Whatever happens, until my very last breath, I'm completely on your side. What do you expect me to say to that? Then it's decided. I will take these papers now and carry out the necessary preparations for tomorrow's trial. It would be a shame to throw them away now after it's been penned with your name so beautifully. Do what you like. You son lot of... I don't know what you are. I don't get ya. Ha 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 ha. She has taken herself off back to her cell. She never admitted it, but I hope she's feeling relieved. It turned out alright in the end, I think. Who's ever hiding there? Show yourself at once. Eavesdropping is the height of cowardice. Miss Susato? Somebody's there in the shadows. I can sense it. Somebody who wasn't there before. What? Oh my gosh. Who is it? Blimey, you're sharp, eh? Blimey, you're sharp, eh? I suppose you were just using one of those mystic Japanese arts, like that of stealth I've heard so much about. If anyone was being stealthy, it was you, Inspector. Grexy! Oh dear me, I'm most terribly sorry, your ladyship. I didn't mean to startle you. How long have you been listening in our conversation? Good grief! Listening in? No, no, no! I just got word that there were some visitors who were refusing to leave even though it was after hours. I assure you, ladyship, I only just arrived this very minute, not a moment earlier. That's all it is, nothing untoward, nothing at all. After hours? Isn't that late already? So then, I humbly excuse myself now, your ladyship. Ta-ta, toodaloo, cheerio, all the best. Bye, bye, bye and bye. That's a lot of farewells, not one of them appropriate for her ladyship. Oh, but I wanted to have a chat. I'm terribly sorry, but time's pressing at the minute. Oh, I see. That's a shame. If I don't get this emergency at this Supreme Court dealt with sharpish, Lord Strongheart will... Emergency? Lord Strongheart? Nothing. Forget I said anything. Anyway, I'm off. Alright, Greg-T, if you have to. But let's chat soon. Delighted. Charms. Can't wait. If you please. My pleasure. That's a lot of pleasantries, and not one of them sounded sincere. Greg-T's so funny. He says such silly things. And certainly entertaining to see an inspector of the police fawning to a 10-year-old girl. But anyway, I wonder what this emergency is at the Supreme Court. Must attend the court's clerk's office now before it closes. Yes, of course. Thank you, Mrs. Sato. Kindly escort Iris home now, and Mr. Naruto. I shall see you there later. And so our investigation came to an end. Suzuki-san went to file the necessary papers for my defense of Gina the following day. And then it hit me. I could no longer suppress the wretched feeling that had been gnawing away at my insides. Tomorrow, Suzuki-san would be leaving Britain and making her way back to Japan. 16th April, 11:13 p.m. Naruhodo's legal consultancy. Naruhodo-san, it's been a very trying day, hasn't it? I do hope you're not too exhausted. What about you, Suzuki-san? Today has been even more trying for you, I'm sure. Mr. Shombo was shot before our eyes. Gina was arrested. All on the back of that news that her father has fallen ill and she must have returned to Japan at once. I hope your father recovers soon. Thank you for your kind words. I wonder why it is that so many thoughts rage in my head like a storm. And yet, I seem unable to find the words to express any of them. I know exactly what you mean. Anyway, I have one final task to complete as your judicial assistant. Once that is done, I shall make preparations for my departure tomorrow. One final task? It's just 2 months since we arrived in London. We've managed to establish this office. It's finally feeling as though we were settling in. I would be lying if I said I felt no regret. I'm so sorry, Susato-san. It's just so sudden. I really don't know what to think. I've had no time to gather my thoughts. I know I've only been here a short time, but in my limited experience of the courtroom, I feel I've learned something. And what would that be? It seems to me there are many facets to people's personalities. Facets? And like a jewel, the light plays off of them in complex patterns, illuminating their actions and their motives. But we've seen only a small number of the total facets, and what is illuminated is only a part of the whole story. What lies in the shadows? What lies in the shadows? What do those facets we cannot see look like? Perhaps there are some parts we'll never lay eyes on, for as long as we live. That's so true. Sometimes I feel as though I'm blind to so much, but I keep hoping that one day it will all become clear. That all the facets will be illuminated, and I'll finally understand how everything fits together. Naruhodo-san. I suppose what matters is that we keep our eyes open and keep moving forward, even if the way sometimes seems dark. It's amazing to think it's just been 2 months. You've grown so much. Sorry, F what? Oh no, it was nothing, unimportant. Do you know what time we'll leave London in the morning? Yes, I picked up my ticket earlier. I shall be leaving here at 4 AM. I see. Well, I'll escort you to the station. Absolutely not. Sorry? I'm sure you realize why I couldn't possibly let you do that. You have a very important day ahead of you tomorrow. Gina's trial. Yes, I know, but every word you utter will have the potential to determine Gina's fate. You must get as much rest as possible. Even though, like me, I'm sure you will find it hard to sleep. But please, for me, do try. You mentioned one final task a moment ago. What did you mean? Oh my, I nearly forgot. Please, I want you to have this. What is that? Some huge bundle of documents. It's my notes. From the case 2 months ago. The murder that was committed on the omnibus. The McGilded case. It seems to me that the case of Mr. Windmike's murder, of which Gina is accused, is very much tied up with the omnibus case, in ways that are not yet completely apparent. So I took the liberty of consolidating my writings about the case for you. With everything else she'd had to think about, Susato-san still managed to do this, and all neatly laid out for me in her beautiful handwriting. It was my pleasure. I can only hope that it will bolster your case tomorrow for Gina. Thank you so much, Susato-san. I'll do my best to use it wisely. You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure. Sorry? I didn't quite catch what you said there. Oh! Ignore me. I was just mumbling to myself. The McGilded case notes. Notes, collated by Miss Susato about the McGilded case that we worked on 2 months ago. Well, it's getting rather late. I think you should go to bed now, Naruhodo-san. I must finish packing up my things in my room. Susato-san, I wish you the very best of luck tomorrow. Good night. Wait, there's something I need to say. Hiya! What was that? A secret technique of mine. The Susato shutdown. Shutdown? Please, I implore you. But we have to voice our goodbyes. I won't be able to hold back my tears. Susato-san. It truly had been a trying day. On our feet for hours, getting Jean to open up to us, and learning the truth about that nemesis of a case. Physically and mentally, I was exhausted, and yet the idea of sleep seemed impossible. But I forced myself to close my eyes, and as a cacophony of scenes of our lives here in London played through my mind. Eventually, my fatigue triumphed, and I fell into a deep sleep. April, the small hours. St. Sinner's Hospital, Ward 3. Yes, I quite understand. It is a great weight off my mind. Rest assured, I shall put everything in place, exactly as we have discussed. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be acquainted with you, Mr. Sholmes. On the contrary, the pleasure has been mine. I bid you farewell, and Godspeed. My dear madam. Okay, so she was saying goodbye to Mr. Sholmes, I guess. What a chapter. Alright. Now we're on to the next scene. When I woke in the following morning, Susato-san was already gone. Outside the window, the rain came down in sheets. And so began an even longer day than the last. One that I remember for the rest of my days. 17th April, 9:32 a.m. The Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. Familiar space. Good morning, Gina. I'm determined to prove your innocence today. I'm sure we can do it. So where's your friend then? Sorry? You know, in the fancy dress. Susato, or however you say it, I don't know. Miss Susato had to leave early this morning. She was already gone by the time I woke up. You alright with that, are you? Forget about me if you like. Go and see her off. It's fine. It's not as though Miss Susato and I won't meet again one day. Yeah, even so. But you, Gina. You only get one chance. This trial today is all we have. Good morning, you two. I'm guessing it's Iris. Oh, the cat. How are you feeling, Ginny? Did you manage to sleep? Meow. Iris, what are you doing there? What do you mean? When a friend is in need, we show our support. Isn't that right, Wacky? Haha. Oh, Wacky! Great way to show your support, kitty. Wow, don't badmouth the cat. Let him have a nose around. What harm can it do? Oh, that reminds me. I brought a paper on the way here. Now, would you like the good news or the bad news? What do you say, Bruno? Ginny? Oh, well, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Nah, always take the good news first. We might not live to hear the bad. Yes, that question always gives away people's personalities. Let's not go there. Alright then, I'll give you the bad news first. A record amount of rain has fallen this morning and all carriages all over the capital are struggling to move. Huh? The bad news was a weather report? So that Susie made a train to Dover and the train is delayed on its way to the port. Gosh, yes. Alright then, so what's the good news? Well, the rain is forecast to subside this afternoon. So even if the train is delayed, it should be able to make up the time later. Well, that is good news, isn't it? I couldn't give a monkeys, really. Only all the good news cancel out the bad. That is true. And look, this trial has made the headlines too. Pawnbroker perishes and Pickpuss plunder. See? How do you like that? Let me say what they want, see if I care. I can't because you're covering your face. Don't worry, Runa will soon show everyone that this headline is nonsense. I will. And then in tomorrow's papers, the headlines will be Discharged diver is Dauntless do-gooder. Isn't that right, Bruno? Oh, yes, let's hope so. Of course they will. I have absolute faith in you. How was that? I was trying to sound like Cece. Did it work? Did it? It's like she was still here. Today's paper. This morning's paper, purchased by Iris. Gina's case features prominently. Okay, so let's take a look at that really quick. Now that we have it, and we go and take a look at the McGilded case notes. Pawnbroker perishes in pick-puss plunder. How awful for Ginny and me. But tomorrow's headline will be Discharged diver is Dauntless do-gooder, right? Yes, something like that. If possible, I'd like to go even bigger. Bigger? How? Proud pickpocket protects planet post-trial. Perhaps? Protects planet? Ooh, I can't wait for tomorrow now. It's going to be so great. There's a sensational story lower down the front page as well. Look! Ministry Mole? Classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of Justice. For a 10-year-old, Iris certainly has her finger on the pulse of world news. It's about secret communications between Great Britain and its allies. Apparently they're being intercepted by hostile nations. Communications are being intercepted, but how could somebody be doing that? That's the question, isn't it? I've come up with 3 different possible methods so far. Are you looking for a new career, Bruno? No, of course not. I wonder, perhaps this is what Lord Strongheart was talking about yesterday. Yes, it could be. It could explain why he has Grexy running from pillar to post at the moment. Ah. This morning's paper contains an article about government secrets being leaked to foreign agencies. I see. Interesting. Oh, let's look at the notebook. Omnibus murder. Case summary. Victim found deceased on the last scheduled omnibus of the day after the stab wound to the abdomen. Details of victim. Mason Milverton, male, brickmaker, East End, London. Trial summary. Defendant Magnus McGilded. Attorney. Prosecution. Lord Barak Van Zeeks. In defense. Us. Conviction was assured with 3 eyewitness testimonies. However, a surprise 4th witness's testimony resulted in acquittal due to insufficient evidence. Okay. A nice little 2-page summary. I appreciate that. Susato? Good luck then, Reno. I'll do what I can. Obviously, I don't know the law like Susie does, but still. I'll be by your side the whole time, giving you moral support and encouragement. I'm not sure that big thing is as comforting as you think it is, to be honest, but... Thank you, Iris. That's very kind of you. Oh yeah, Iris? Yes, Ginny? Well, I was wondering, is all, about Sholmes. Did they fix him up alright? Yes, the operation was a great success. But Hurley hasn't come around yet. Eh? I've asked a friend of mine at Scotland Yard to send a telegram as soon as he wakes up. I'm sure Gregson will let us know the moment there's news. Oh, right. No Susato-san and no Mr. Sholmes. It's all down to me today. Prove that Gina is innocent of this crime. Mr. Gina Lestrade. Miss Gina Lestrade. Counsel for the defense. The defense trial is about to begin. Please make your way into the courtroom. It's time then. Yes, let's go, Gina. Iris? Lead the way, Bruno. Poor Gina. She's trying to put on a brave face, but I can tell she's worried and scared. I have to believe in her from the start to finish. That's the weapon that will secure our victory here. If I learned anything from my great friend, it's that. th April, 10 AM, Old Bailey Courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. This trial shall determine the guilt or innocence of Miss Gina Lestrade. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. Defense is ready. Lord Van Zeeks. My lord. Remind me, how many years ago was it that you withdrew from the public prosecution service? It was some 5 years ago, my lord. Yes, and then 2 months ago you resurfaced somewhat unexpectedly, and here you are again today. Are there some circumstances of which the court should be aware that have led to this erratic behavior? One might describe as your former life 5 years in the past. You dealt with exclusively matters concerned with the highest, echelons? I forgot to pronounce that. Echelons of society and government. Really? Yet today you chose to try a simple case of burglary and murder. I confess I find it more than a little befuddling, counsel. There are 2 types of person I cannot abide. Firstly, those wealthy scoundrels who hide behind a mask of philanthropy to cheat the public at large.
He means Miss McGilded, who you defended against the Reaper 2 months ago.
Yes, I just about managed to work that out. Thank you. Magnus McGilded, if I'd known what a monster he was, I never would have defended him. And the secondly, even more loathsome, those willy scoundrels who masquerade as allies only to effect total betrayal in the final hour. In other words, the confidence tricksters from the tiny islands in the Far East, the Nipponese. What? Did he really just say that?
He means you now, Runa.
I actually managed to work that out too. Thank you, Iris. Total betrayal? What are you talking about? That torrid look of hatred in Lord Van Zeke's eyes. Was that directed solely at me, or was he talking about all Japanese people? An alarmingly scathing explanation, Lord Van Zeke's. Still, the judiciary welcomes the return of the so-called Reaper of the Bailey, feared by all London's malefactors. Your lordship is too kind. Now, jurors, the 6 of you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to hear the evidence placed before you to determine the guilt or innocence of the defendant? Former lieutenant of the British Army here, don't you know? Chaps like me were born ready.
Clean cookery, clean cutlery, and a clean conscience. His lordship's motto is very appropriate here, I think. Everything will be stereoscopic in the future. Absolutely, absolutely everything, and I'm ready for it.
I don't understand it. I can't have left it there. It's not possible, but could I have?
Women are indispensable in society. Stop. Female-centric fish here waits. Stop.
It's him. Good day. I'm visiting London for a sightseeing. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please. It's that guy. The Russian guy.
Is something wrong, Runa?
Oh, not exactly. It's just... I'm fairly sure I recognize these jurors. Almost all of them, in fact.
Really? Funny coincidences like that do happen from time to time, don't they? But it's quite strange. Jurors are chosen at random from London's 6 million inhabitants, you know.
So I've been led to believe, but something tells me I'm being duped. Very well. Now, Lord Van Zeeks, the court calls upon the prosecution to introduce the facts of the case. As you wish, my lord. Allow me to begin with a word of warning to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. In short, there's never been a more self-evident case of cold-blooded murder. The victim, Mr. Pop Winderbank, proprietor of a pawn shop on Baker Street, was shot from behind and died instantly. The prosecution presents this photographic print of the crime scene. As the court will observe, there's a single bullet wound just below the gentleman's left shoulder. The evidence suggests that the bullet pierced the man's heart, resulting in near-instant death. Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner. His report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. And what's that supposed to tell us? It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Someone. Like the accused, you might say.
Oh.
The prosecution wishes to present the autopsy report and the crime scene photograph as evidence, my lord. Indeed. The court accepts. Hand them to the bailiff, please. Autopsy report.
A report prepared by the Scotland Yard coroner that confirms instant death due to a single bullet wound from the back. There are no other signs of trauma. Crime scene photograph. A photograph of the victim found murdered in the storeroom. It shows a single bullet wound in the man's back. Okay, let's take a look at those really quick. Autopsy report. Coroner Dr. Stevens. Details of victim. Name Pop Windebank, male. Occupation pawnbroker on Baker Street. Time of death 16th April 1 and 1:30 a.m. Reporting party Ryusuke Naruhodo. Ryunosuke. Post-mortem findings. Single bullet wound in upper half of the victim's back. No other visible signs of trauma. Autopsy findings. Instant death from a posterior anterior bullet wound to the heart. The bullet entered the body from the back on a gently rising diagonal trajectory. Ah, the photo. There we go. Okay, I'm more familiar with this, so. I now ask the court to turn its attention to this plan of the establishment where the incident occurred. The proprietor was found in the storeroom where he kept articles pawned to him. A windowless room with a single point of entry, a door to the main shop that was found locked. In this sealed chamber, there were only two persons present. The victim, Mr. Windebank, and the accused. It may further interest the court to know that when the accused was discovered at the scene, she had in her hand the gun used to fire the fatal bullet.
Well, that's that then, isn't it? Nothing more to say. Isn't that grubby little girl pickpocket anyway? She's one of those filthy drabs that lives in the slums on the East End.
Oh well, it was only a matter of time before she got blood on her hands then.
What are the jurors waiting for? The girl's guilty as hell. We can't jump to conclusions here. We mustn't assume her guilt just because of what she has to do to survive.
My learned Nipponese friend. It is you who must jump to conclusions. The prosecution has barely begun presenting its case. Conveniently, this appalling act of murder did not go unobserved. There were witnesses. Good gracious! After their testimony, this girl's true nature will be exposed. Pitiful pickpurse or cold-hearted killer. Here's to establishing the truth. The court will take the floor pan and firearm into evidence. Hand them to the bailiff, please, Lord Antiques. At once, my lord. Crime scene floor plan. A plan of Windebank's pawnbrokery at the scene of the crime. It shows the relative positions of the main shop and the rear storeroom. Windebank's gun. A gun belonging to the victim, Mr. Windebank, that Gina was holding when she was found unconscious. There are signs of a single discharge. Okay. Okay, so it shows the arrangement. Fairly simple. Here's the gun. This is Mr. Windebank's gun. The cylinder is completely empty.
Mr. Windebank always used to keep his gun on hand on his shop counter.
Yes, but only ever with a single bullet loaded, I understand.
That's right. To keep all the pawned articles that were in his cash safe.
But his one bullet was fired that night, and the poor man lost his life. Was he protecting his shop, I wonder? Trying to keep his articles safe? Yeah. That's, because it's possible that the bullet that goes with the gun was the one found in the calendar, you know? We don't know.
I feel like the mood in here has turned very gloomy all of a sudden, you know?
I think that's because it has. Let us begin. Bring forth the witnesses to the foul murder of Mr. Pop Windebank on the 16th of April of this year. I'm very curious to meet the witnesses. Oh dear. They look very silly. Witnesses. State your names and occupations for the court.
Name's Nash Scullin. Occupations I'm baddie. Professional baddie. Name's Wrinkle Scullin. Occupations are Saber Sim.
Tobias Gregson, Scotland Yard Inspector.
That's right. But what they call the three skulking brothers. Brothers. Oi, bruv.
The London accent, I wonder if I'll ever get it. It's so hard to do for me because I don't know it very well.
What are you looking at me like that for? Don't lump me in with you lot. God, blimey, that's cold. Did you know what we got going through? It's our older brother. It's our older bruv. Lost contact with him we have. So we're scouring every shady corner of the capital. Last night, we come across you. The very spit of the bloke. Ain't that right, Ringo? It is, Nash, it is. The very spit of him. So we decided there and then what was gonna do, we was gonna call you Big Bro Sulky. Come on, leave it out, you two.
Sulky skulking? And that's before he's run out of chips.
Well then, Inspector Sulky Gregson. Begging your pardon, my lord, but the name's Tobias.
What I would like to know, Inspector, is what you were doing in the witness's stand.
The Skulkin brothers are currently under arrest, my lord, on suspicion of theft. Thieves are they, these three? No, my lord. I'm begging your pardon, but please don't let me in with this lot. 2 nights ago, these 2 brothers illegally entered an establishment with the intent to burgle. In the course of their nefarious activities, they became embroiled in a far more sinister crime. By Jove, you mean to say? What an extraordinary coincidence. Indeed, my lord. While attempting to burglarize the pawnbrokery, they witnessed the proprietor's murder. Order, order! The various trespasses of these brothers is not the subject of today's proceedings, though they will naturally face trial in the very near future. With your lordship's permission, I'd like to remain in the stand to keep these gents on the straight and narrow. Of course, Inspector. Skeptical as I am about the caliber of these witnesses, I will permit them to take the stand. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you will now testify before the court. Describe the evidence of the night in question and what exactly you saw. Happy to. For the Skulkins never skulkin. Get out of it. Illegal entry. We was talking about Baker Street in the small hours, and the gas opened ajar, see? Door was open ajar. It was some kind of sign. It was some kind of sign, begging for us to go in, it was. But once we got inside, come blimey lummy, we heard a gunshot from the back room. We went to see what was what, but the door was locked from the inside. We never done nothing, Governor. We never did nothing. We just left after that, nice and quiet. A terrible coincidence, it would seem. The precise moment these miscreants entered the property, an even more sinister crime was afoot. The witness's testimony is consistent with the crime scene in every detail. The door providing access to the storeroom from the main shop was indeed locked from the inside, and within, only the victim and the accused were found. I must say, it does appear to be an overwhelmingly simple case. Still, the defense may cross-examine the witnesses now, of course. Counsel, if you please. Counsel? But yes. What's the matter, Bruno? Sorry, I was just stunned into silence for a minute by the blatant lies told by the pair in the stand. No, that's all nonsense, because I saw it with my own eyes. I'll have to expose their testimony for the pack of lies it is. The door was ajar. The front door of Windybanks was ajar, you say? What time of night was this? Must have been about 1. Right, Ringo? Yeah, I'd say so. Right, Silky? How would I know? The place would have been shut at 1 in the morning, just like every other shop in town. Well, it was pitch black inside, it's true. Ain't that right, Ringo? I'm not so sure, Nash. I seem to remember a little light burning inside. What about you, Silky, me old mucker? Leave me alone. Definitely it was a small lamp burning inside. That's what alerted us to the situation in the first place. And when these gentlemen ventured to the open establishment, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, already had the muzzle of the gun trained
on the unfortunate victim. That's pure conjecture. Perhaps, but it changes nothing. These brothers inadvertently wandered into the middle of a cold-blooded murder, simply because they found the door of the victim's establishment open and ventured inside.
Right, that's what happened.
It was like some kind of sign, begging for us to go, and it was. Were you trying to suggest that you had to go in?
Well, God moves in mysterious ways, they say, didn't they, Ringo?
They do, Nash, they do.
Must have been some sort of providence, I reckon.
As well often presents itself as the whim of thieves, does it?
It wasn't no whim, I'm dead sure of that.
It wasn't, Nash, it wasn't.
Like we said at the time. You don't just find doors open in the middle of the night like that. Nah, there's no two ways about it. It was a sign that a long-lost brother was inside. They're not very good liars, are they?
Well, you can't deny it.
Let's to the bloke with what just looks like our bruv.
I say, cut it out. The ships are getting chomping today. A gunshot, you say? Just the one? Are you sure about that?
Oh, just the one, Governor. I can swear to that. It was, Nash, it was. Ain't that right, bruv?
Firearm used belonged to the victim himself.
Yes, Mr. Windermere always used to leave his gun lying around the counter.
Right, I remember. When we examined it, we found the revolver was completely out of rounds.
That makes sense. Mr. Windermere always used to say he only ever kept a single bullet loaded.
That's true, I remember saying that as well. But we can say with considerable certainty, only a single round was discharged from the firearm used as a murder weapon. Yes, my lord, we can. And I should remind the court that the firearm in question was discovered in the hand of the accused. Wonderful. Do you mean the door between the main shop and the storeroom? If my learned friend is having difficulty grasping the situation, perhaps the drawing would help. Excluding the shop's entrance from the street, there is only one other door, that of the storeroom.
Of course, there was only a little oil lamp burning, not much to see by. And a door was hidden behind the curtain and all.
That's right. When we arrived, the door was mostly obscured by the curtain. Tell me, why exactly did you try to open that door?
Bird?
Any normal petty thief would run at the sound of a gunshot, I would think.
It turned to rabbit, Ringo. Oh, well, Nash, yeah. I suppose you have to say we're normal, eh?
Broadly speaking, humans respond in one of two ways, hearing a gunshot or scream. The timid flee, gripped by fear, while the courageous investigate to see if they might help. These gentlemen are of the latter inclination. My learned Nipponese friend, it would seem, is of the former. Alright, somehow I just gotta prove that I was a coward that night. Thank you, counsels. So, I believe we all understand that the door was locked and could not be opened. Proceed, witnesses. You didn't do or take anything, is that your story?
Well, it was bedlam.
Soon as, wasn't it?
It was, Nash, it was. I didn't even have time to pull me dukes out of me Lucy lockets.
So not trying to take your hands out of your pockets. You just left nice and quietly, you say?
That's right, Governor. Nothing way more than violent. Peace-loving nibblers we are, not bludgers. We are, Nash, we are. Never even pulled me dukes out of me Lucy lockets.
So, you clearly like us to believe.
Come again?
As you fled from the pawnbrokers that night, did you not run into anyone else? And, did you not fire a gun at that person?
Saints alive, they fired a gun, you say? Oh! Blimey, Governor! You're like telling us it was you in the doorway?
It was. Why, the bleeding Nora?
Did you mention that before?
You were armed with a gun. And as you fled the scene, you fired that gun. London's greatest detective, Sherlock Sholmes.
They shot the great Mr. Sholmes. I did hear that, actually. There was a rumor he'd been rushed to the hospital.
The great Mr. Sholmes, that's beyond the pale. On the night in question, this pair was arrested by the police within minutes of the discovery of the crime scene. The suspicious countenance rapidly gave him away. And when searched, a firearm was indeed found in their possession. Furthermore, the barrel shows signs of a shot having been fired from it. The prosecution invites his lordship to examine the firearm recovered from these brothers. Yes, indeed. Remnants of powder around the muzzle, as you say, counsel. Court will now hold this weapon as evidence. Skulkin brothers' gun. A firearm found in the possession of the Skulkin brothers upon their arrest. There are signs that a single round was fired. Okay, let's look at the gun. So, there's ammunition still loaded in 5 of this revolver's 6 cylinders.
Yes, which tells us that only a single shot has been fired from it.
Exactly.
Well, that hit Hurley, in fact, isn't it?
Yes. It happened almost as soon as we walked into Winterbake's door.
I'll make those brothers pay.
Okay. So it's still loaded, I guess, which is kind of scary, but... Now, my learned Nipponese friend.
Yes?
Here's to your successfully presenting the evidence. For yes, there's a telltale signs of spent powder on this gun, and a single bullet missing from the cylinder. But the prosecution demands evidence that it was fired at the scene of the crime, under scrutiny in this trial. Well, I don't need evidence, because I was there. However, the rest of us in this courtroom were not. The defense fails to provide evidence in support of this rash claim. We shall have no choice but to toast your incompetence and move on. Evidence that these two fired that gun before they left Winterbanks that night. The court demands that all claims were affirmed with clear proof. Whatever shows that these witnesses unloaded a firearm in the pawnbroker's shop that night. Oh, I guess the green blood must be Sherlock's, right? Or Herlock's. Evidence is in this portfolio. What on earth have you there, counsel? During the course of our investigation, we discovered a number of bloodstains. Not trusting the police to do the job they're trained to do. How arrogantly Nipponese of you. Well, anyway, we analyzed all the blood samples we found and recorded the results in this portfolio. You claim to have the evidence the court is demanding therein. Yes, my lord. No more delaying than dallying, then, counsel. Present the pertinent evidence at once. What do you have in your portfolio that proves these witnesses unloaded a firearm at the scene? So definitely this one. What is that? Explain. It's a photographic print taken at Winterbank's pawnbroker on the day of the incident. From the scene of the crime, is it? Is that a bullet hole? If my eyes do not deceive me, it appears the bullet is still lodged in there. Yes, as your lordship noticed. The bullet pierced Mr. Winterbank's calendar. They shown being 16th of April, the very day of the pawnbroker's death. The incident occurred at 1 hour after midnight, but this indicates that a separate shot had been fired sometime after the calendar had been set to the 16th. That's right. While it isn't irrefutable, the defense believes this credible evidence is what the witnesses did fire a round from their gun in the pawnbrokers that night.
Yeah.
Order. How does the prosecution stand, Lord Van Zeeks? If that is the direction my learned friend wishes to take, the prosecution has no objection.
What?
But you'll forgive me for flinging my hallowed chalice aside in disgust at the repugnancy it exposes. Yes, on the night in question, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery illegally. And like the bold baddies they claimed to be, opened fire on the new arrivals before fleeing back into the street.
Hey? Take it easy there, Governor. You're gonna land us in the soup. Well, the deal. You weren't gonna get into the details. Tell him, Sophie. Set the bloke straight.
I have nothing to add.
So he knew, did he? Van Deeks knew their testimony would almost certainly expose the extent of their crimes.
It would seem now that I owe my learned Nipponese friend a word of gratitude.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that you have helpfully confirmed an important fact. To what fact do you refer, Lord Van Deeks? As has been established, at the point of their arrest, a single shot had been fired from the brother's gun. However, that shot had been found its targets in Mr. Sholmes. And clearly, these witnesses cannot be accused of the fatal shooting of the proprietor and the victim. In other words, these two men have no material connection to the murder of Mr. Windbank at all.
So that's it. That's it. We didn't have nothing to do with it. We didn't, Nash. We didn't. That's what I reckon.
Her crimes include unlawful entry, intent to steal, perjury, and, let's not forget, attempted murder.
Quite a catalogue, eh, fellas? We're in for it now, bruv.
Now then, let us take a moment to consider the aforementioned great detective, Mr. Sherlock Sholmes. I've seen the man patronize the pawnbrokers in question somewhat regularly.
Where's he going with this?
Mr. Sholmes appears to take pleasure in tinkering with eccentric machinery.
Eccentric? Says who?
Not me. Don't give me that look. He installed a pair of machines like this one in the victim's shop.
Oh! That's one of Charlie's red-handed recorders.
What is that, Counsel? It has the appearance of a photographic contraption. As your lordship surmised, it is indeed a camera attached to a small timing device.
Every half an hour, it automatically photographs the interior of the establishment. So this, I knew it was going to be very interesting, because we're going to have 30-minute, like, still shots of the shop, which will be interesting. The idea of that being if a thief were to break into the shop, he would be caught red-handed.
The prosecution has obtained the photographs taken by the device on the night in question.
$8 p.m., 8:30. Nothing.
As the court will observe, copious identical prints are produced in quite a desultory fashion.
Desultory? Desultory?
Rather, prodigal, I feel. In fact, there are 2 such devices in the victim's shop, my lord. If I may refer the court to the plan of the premises, their respective positions are here. And here.
You say these cameras produce a print every half hour. I'm afraid I fail to see how that would help if the anticipated thief conducted his activities in one of the many 30-minute intervals.
One can only pray that the would-be criminal lingers, my lord. The night in question, the witness is currently in the stand and were not caught on camera.
Hehe, that's a bit of friar luck. Tuck. That's a bit of friar tuck, eh, bruv? Lady Luck loves a skulking.
Witnesses, at what time did your trespassing begin?
It must have been just after 1, right, bruv?
Must have been, Nash, must have been.
Yeah, just gone 1.
In which case, the minutes before these brothers entered the establishment. What scene might we expect to see within the shop? Let us examine the evidence.
Good lord. It's the defendant. Miss Gina Lestrade.
As the court can clearly see, The accused is pictured, gun in hand, facing the victim over the shop counter. No doubt coercing the proprietor to open the door to his storeroom. Quite. One can only too easily imagine the events that unfolded. The court will take this photographic print as evidence, if you please, counsel. Photograph of Gina. A photograph taken automatically by the red-handed reporter following the scene a short time before the murder took place. Ugh. Oh no. It's exactly at 1 AM, huh?
I don't believe it. Ginny.
In short, the accused is the only person who could have possibly had killed Mr. Winterbank. I say, my lord. Wonder if I might put in a word at this point. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Took a volley bullet to the knee in the battle of my 1880, don't you know? Decorated for it and all that, but forced to retire from service, sadly. Of course, a medal can never outshine the exploits of chaps like us on the battlefield. Yes, Mr. Foreman, and what exactly is your point? Carried on the battle after retirement, you see, the battle of daily life, if you like. And here I am now, leading the small squadron, 6 men, all good and true. And we'll all go down together, you mock my words, one for all and all for one. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached agreement, have they? Is that what we are to understand? Well, Mr. Foreman, is that correct? In a manner of speaking, yes. This is the Garradeb Squadron's position, sir.
What? No, it's too soon to make a judgment here.
Status report for the court, men, on the double.
His lordship insists on promptitude at all times, and that goes for making decisions, too. I think you'll find the truth is clear as day now. I could reach out and touch it.
I wouldn't have it left in there. It just would, but in all honesty, I can't actually remember.
Situation clear. Stop. No room for doubt. Stop. Truth now undeniable. Stop.
I'm very, very sorry for the brothers. They are unlucky. Very well. And I'll call upon each member of the jury to state his or her leaning in this matter. And I shall consider verdicts to the court.
You say.
You say.
You say. You say.
You say.
You say.
The doctor. Oh no. It does indeed appear that the jury is unanimous in its leaning already.
The photograph. It must be the definitive evidence that Gregson mentioned. But Ginny didn't shoot him.
No, of course not.
My lord, the defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination.
Very well. Court grants permission. So, you refuse to admit defeat again. How uninspiring. We shall proceed immediately with the summation examination. Mr. Foreman, are all members of the jury ready? Absolutely, sir. Always ready for action, my chaps. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Alright, the jurors' contentions. Okay. So I think this is a good place to stop before we do the jury examination. Because this is going to take a while. But yeah, so that was a good 3-hour chunk. But yeah, we'll continue this next time. And thank you all for watching. Yeah.